But I think there's something important about writing this stuff down that's in our hearts, visions that God gives us, because we forget. We're consumers of lots of things, and we forget what we actually desire. We forget what God tells us, and then writing it down, it helps us.
Men listening to this, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the status quo, the
Yep.
normal. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what everybody does. Take me through that. If a dude's thinking that right now, like there is something burning in me, there is this adventure that's there, but I'm not stepping into that. What are your thoughts on how they can just freaking enter into that?
Yeah, yeah, and talking through the story again, I just remembered something too that's really crucial. Or I think it's a really good piece too. We always hear like write down things that write down goals and stuff. If you
Yeah.
write down, it's just that much more important, or
Yeah.
it'll that more likely to happen and
Yeah.
things like that.
For sure.
Dude, when we were moving and we were selling everything off, we were just putting stuff in boxes and doing yard sales and stuff. I found a journal from this was in 2021. I found a journal from 2020 or 2016, and I had a long list on one page of like all these things I wanted to do in life. And I'm sitting there reading it. I'm in the living room and I'm reading through this thing, and all of a sudden, I just start bawling. I get to the last thing.
What?
I take it to my wife, and I go, "Rebecca, read this list." And she reads it. She starts crying, and she's like, we've accomplished everything on this list except for the last thing." I said, "The last thing," which is what we're going to. The last thing on the list was to go somewhere, buy enough property that we could have a multi-generational place where we could give our kids land and they could build houses if they want to stay in the area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's literally part of the reason why we're going too, is like, we're going to buy some land. And, that was on our list of things we want to do. I was like, and I had forgotten
Mm,
that. I even
mm.
written that down. But I think there's something important about writing this stuff down that's in our hearts, visions that God gives us,
Mm.
because we forget. We're consumers
Yeah, we
of lots of
forget.
things,
Yeah, okay,
and
okay.
we forget what we actually desire. We forget what God tells us, and then writing it down, it helps us. So I'm a huge fan of writing things down. I've always got a journal with me now. I'm just like,
Yeah.
and just to go back and look at that stuff and be like, oh, this is reminding me of what is important, or So, anyways,
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that for a second because I think what I try to lean into is like, dude, I want to sit down. Like, here's Ned. I want to like get deep and pray with you and connect, and then I also want to go have a glass of whiskey and watch Step Brothers and then quote it, right? So like, I'm on these
amen.
both, yeah, these both sides, and sometimes I think when we lean into like this could be such a earthy podcast, and it's like, dude, just name it and claim it on the faith side, or just speak everything into existence on the maybe the
Mm,
like more, I don't know what you'd call that, but like the earthy, the universe is God kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But to go in, okay, so I'll share a story and then I want guys to unlock this a bit who are like just us normal Joes who love God and also love whiskey and Step Brothers. Um, I found a journal, dude. So I'm a big journaler. I
yeah.
found a journal when I was in college. Our professor made us write 100 goals down, and I'm like 19, right? So you're like, buy a house before I'm 25, and like all this just stuff. I found the journal like I don't know within the last 3 years,
Mm,
and like 70% of those goals had been met. It was
wow,
wild. I'm like, check, check,
isn't
check.
that so
It's
cool?
wild.
Yeah,
And so it's funny because it's not like I want to write down on a piece of paper right now. So this would be the status quo in my opinion. And then I want your opinion. Well,
yeah.
I'm going to get a Ferrari by 2025, right? Like, is that really in your heart, or is that just like, I need to make something up? Right. And, and,
Yep.
and so the idea is when you are fully present and all the noise is set aside. That's why I like to go on a day or two retreat by myself a year to create that space.
Mm,
What is inside of you, and then get it out, write it down, because yeah, when you're at work on a Monday, you're going to kind of forget that, so you need to look back. But those, I love how you said don't forget the dreams, that the vision that God's put inside of you,
mm.
pursue those things. um it's not the name it and claim it, it's not the speak things into existence, but there's something there to ignite and pursue the vision and dreams that are inside of you. What are your thoughts more about what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think if we just fit in with the rhythm of the world,
Hmm.
we're
Mm.
we're gonna miss out on opportunities to even have the visions and dreams.
Yeah.
So we have to be intentional with, I think, two things that stand out to me. Be intentional with getting ourselves around the right people.
Yep,
Um,
yep,
you
yep.
know, we talked about Greg, big visionary. Every time I talk to him, it expands my vision and my thinking, and people like that really that helps me a ton. And two, I love hunting. Um, when I go out in the woods for
You
whether even if
kill
it's a day,
you kill
what
you
I
kill
kill, yeah,
animals?
I kill and drink whiskey. What's wrong with you?
We
So
gotta
I'm a big hunter, and man, I get the hunt is one thing.
Yeah,
There's value in that.
yeah.
The kill, that whole thing. But man, there might be more value in it for me just to get out of the whirlwind of the day to day, so I can
Okay, yes.
free my mind and let God talk to me and let my mind work and think bigger.